Hey guys, welcome back. Today I want to talk about making a Hackintosh. I'd like to cover a few things that I don't think any other YouTuber is covering today. A lot of YouTubers will just throw together their Hackintosh off video and then tell you how great everything runs. Don't really get into the specifics of the difficulties that they had. I want to get into more of why to Hackintosh. So why would you do it? Number one, people will do it because they think they're going to save money on buying a real Mac. Money is time, time is money, all that good stuff. Not going to happen. If you need a Mac, go buy a Mac. So why would you Hackintosh? Number one, you like to tinker with things. You like to build things. You like to basically just torture yourself because that's what you're going to do. You're going to run into a lot of problems. You're going to run into a lot of kernel panics. So be prepared. Now let me talk a little bit about my project. Number one, I'm not going to do a guide. There's guides out there, so don't leave a comment and ask for a guide because I'm just not going to do it. I don't even know if I'm going to keep this Hackintosh. I just did it because I like to tinker and I basically just like to mess with computers, so that's why I did it. What I bought for my Hackintosh was a Dell Optiplex 7020. It has a Core i5, I think it's a 4th generation, 45 something, anyway. It has the built-in Intel 4600 graphics, and that is basically why I bought it, because I read online that that's going to be a little bit easier to get running in Mac OS, and they were wrong. It wasn't easy. I started out with High Sierra, which was probably my mistake. That's where all my problems lied. Once I went and scrapped that and actually went to Mojave, it was a little bit easier. So, you know, you're just going to have to do your research. I did follow a guide on Tony Mac. Some of it was wrong. It was just downright wrong. So know if you're following a guide, you're still going to have to do a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of just figuring out what is wrong. So number one thing to learn if you're going to try to Hackintosh is Clover. Clover is your bootloader. It's going to emulate your EFI partition, or it does make your EFI partition, and it runs on there and emulates to Mac OS, you know, what your hardware is. Basically makes it look acceptable. So you're going to have to learn a lot about it. You're going to have to learn a lot about kernel extensions. You're going to have to learn how to install kernel extensions, or kexts, or however they're referred to. Is it for everybody? Absolutely not. Like I said earlier, if you need a Mac, go buy a Mac. Don't even buy a used one. But don't think you're going to get away with doing a Hackintosh and having a great running machine. I did upgrade the RAM in mine. I finally have it running okay. But like I said, for a day-to-day use of trying to make money from your system, probably not the best thing to try. Unless you're a really, really skilled computer troubleshooter. That would be the best way to put it. So let me just get in and talk a little bit about my Hackintosh. It's Dell Optiplex 720. Came with 8 gigs of RAM. I bought it off of eBay. It's the small form factor model, which you're not going to be adding graphics cards and things like that to it. So you're going to have to basically deal with the built-in graphics. Now, if you want to add a high-power graphics card, first research what Mac OS supports, because it doesn't support a lot of the newer NVIDIA gaming cards. So know that. AMD is more heavily supported, but you're going to need a mini tower if you want to expand that out with graphic cards and things like that, because there's just not enough room in the case for a double slot card in these small form factor PCs. But the good thing about these pre-built PCs like the Dell Optiplex is some of the hardware is similar. So here's what works. Pretty much everything works except for, I guess I'll be talking about what doesn't work. USB 3 ports don't work at all. I plug things into them, nothing comes up. What else doesn't work? Audio works, but it's crackly, and to me is just absolutely unacceptable. I can't stand bad audio, and it puts out bad audio. So what I've done is I've put a little USB DAC that I have to interface my mixing board in, and then I plug my headphones into that and use it that way. So any external USB audio device is pretty much going to run your audio fine. I think one of my biggest problems with it is USB 3. I mean, that's fairly, I wouldn't call it old hardware, but that's been around for a while, and a lot of my external hard drives are USB 3, and it's just not working. So again, that's more hours of trying to figure that out, and yeah, it'll be fun for me, but it's probably not going to be for everybody. So I'll probably mess around till I get it working, and then go from there. But yeah, I mean, I upgraded. I think it came with 8 gigs of RAM. I went ahead and spent the extra $25 because DDR3 RAM's so inexpensive now. I upgraded it 16 gigs of RAM. So, I mean, this is a really decent machine for being just an old $93 computer that I bought off of eBay. I did add an SSD. I bought that cheap Kingston SSD. I think it's $29 for 250 gigs. And honestly, this thing, you know, minus the issues I'm talking about here, it is blazing fast. It really is. And I think that's the biggest problem with Apple right now, is they don't have a desktop system that is that kind of meets the every guy, every gal, everyday person's needs, right? They have the Mac Pro, which they want to charge you $4,000 or $5,000 for, and honestly, that hardware's so out of date now that, you know, you can build a Hackintosh with more powerful hardware that probably runs faster, you know, that accomplishes more things. Now, that is out of the reach of most people, right? You've got to have those skills to be able to troubleshoot that. And if you want to learn, go for it. It's a great learning tool. You'll learn a lot of things. You'll learn about, you know, Unix type commands, kernel panics, how to avoid them, how to interface with the hardware. I mean, a lot of good, valuable lessons can be learned from doing this. But don't do it thinking that you're going to pop a USB drive in and have a running Mac in 10 minutes. It's just not going to happen. There's going to be a lot of Google research. So a couple guides I followed, I'll put the link in the description. I would highly suggest you try what they call a vanilla install if you're going to do this. That would be not using the Tony Mac software, basically, right? You're gonna load Clover yourself. You're gonna configure Clover. You're going to add what you need to your config.p list. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's going to be a rough road ahead. It's just going to be a lot of things to learn. And if you're up for it, go for it. But yeah, now that I have it built, it's kind of fun. I edit some videos on it just for fun, and you can see, I'll throw them into the video here. You can see this is iMovie. It scrubs fine. I can cut fine. I mean, no lag at all. Really, really fast computer. I also can load DaVinci Resolve. This is probably the first computer that I could ever run DaVinci Resolve on. All the other ones, it wouldn't even start up. But yeah, I mean, it runs. I don't have a lot of kernel panics now. I've got most of those ironed out. I've updated it once without an issue. Doesn't mean it's going to be that way now. The next update could completely blow this thing up. Another thing to consider, right? So again, I'd have to spend hours and hours troubleshooting that if I wanted to get it working after that. So my point is, Hackintoshing's not for everybody. Be careful the videos you watch out there. You know, they either are really skilled at what they're doing, or they know somebody that's really skilled that's helping them. It's not an easy process. Look at buying a used Mac on eBay if you need one. I actually have a couple used Macs, some old laptops that go up to High Sierra. And I'm thinking about just using the patcher tool to get those up to Mojave, because they won't run it. Okay guys, I've been talking so long it's almost dark outside now. So let's recap. Summary. Know your hardware. Research your hardware. Find somebody that's done this Hackintosh and use their research that they've published. Know what to put in your Clover configuration, your config.p list, and such. Understand Clover. Read about Clover. Research Clover. Know it inside and out. That's where all the hard work is done. Once you get it installed, know how to install kexts or kernel extensions. You can use any one of the kext installers out there. It should do the job. or you can see how to do it manually. I'll put some links in the description of some things I read to get you started. And last but not least, don't make a Hackintosh thinking that it's going to be something great and replace a normal Mac and save you a lot of money and work perfectly like a Mac. It's not going to happen. You're going to have issues. You're going to have to know how to troubleshoot them. That's all we have today. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time.